What's up, everybody? This is your boy CeeLo, and today we're talking about Dawson versus Green, UFC Vegas 80. In particular, we're going to be talking about 3 fights that we want to target. And for all DraftKings daily fantasy players, these 3 fights are going to be pivotal for you guys to put in your lineups. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So very quickly, you guys, please give this video a big thumbs up. Comment down below your thoughts and opinions on UFC Vegas 85 card. I personally believe it's going to be a sneaky good card. But hey, we have UFC back this weekend. And for everybody out there on Instagram, please follow my Instagram at CeeLo Studios Presents. There we can talk about our thoughts and opinions on the upcoming cards, which we have some bangers coming up. So again, guys, 3 fights we're going to target in this fight card. Let's get right into it. All right, guys, so I have the DraftKings lineups and salaries pulled up here, and the first fight we're going to talk about might not be one that you want to either talk about or hear about, but it's going to be our curtain jerker here, JJ Aldridge versus Montana de la Rosa. And why do we want to target this on DraftKings? First and foremost, their salary makes all your overall lineup work, whether you're choosing Montana de la Rosa or JJ Aldridge. And another key factor why I like to target this fight is because when either fighter wins, they score well. When they lose, they tend to at least, give you half of their projected fantasy points per fight, if that makes sense. But let's talk about JJ Aldridge first. Her last 5 fights, nothing stands out to me. Her salaries and fantasy points scored is what I want to focus on here. Her last fight against Na, she was priced way up there at 9,400. She scored 107 points. Again, probably not enough to cover her salary, but it is a good amount of points to have in your lineup, especially if every other fight ends up being a snooze fest, and 107 is enough to cover at her salary. But my point here is, if she scores 107 points at 8,000, she's definitely going to be up in there in the top lineups. Now, on the other side of that, when she does lose, and again, she's lost to Lipsky, lost to Blanchfield, no shame there from Blanchfield. She's top contender, possibly fighting for the title next. Neither here nor there. She did beat Jillian Robertson, so be it. Maybe not the best Robertson that we saw, but that's neither here nor there. But again, focus on these salaries. The one that's very concerning to me is losing to Lipsky at 9,400 and scoring you 23 points. That would automatically put you out of those top lineups. You spent almost 10,000 on your salary, pretty much 20% of your total salary on one fighter, and then she scores you 23 points. Nothing more frustrating than that. But again, right now we don't need to really worry about that because they're both priced 8,000 and 8,200. So again, when she does lose, especially so pretty much these last 2 fights with the 9,400 tag and the 6,600 tag, she scored about the same points, about the same fantasy points. So at 6,600, 25 points, maybe I'll take it. I'll take it because 6,600 means you can fit in a lot of top dogs at the very top of your lineup. But again, so when she does win, especially at 8,000, she's going to make your lineup at least that much higher as far as points are concerned. Again, if she does lose, at least hopefully she'll cover these 23, 25 points. At 8,000, that might not be in the top lineups, but at least it'll be a lot better than a fighter coming out here and getting knocked out in round 1. Moving on to the other side of this, we have Montana de la Rosa at 8,200. And the reason why I like this same narrative here, when she does win, she tends to score well. When she does lose, she at least puts up a solid amount of points. So here, Tatiana Suarez, I wouldn't scratch this out of her record. You really can't, but I'm saying you don't score well against Tatiana Suarez. So those 9 points really affected her average fantasy points per fight. But again, anybody that faces Suarez, you're not going to score well. You're possibly not going to score over 20 points unless you're at the top echelon of the division. But let's get back to this fight. Her last fight before that was Macy Barber. Macy Barber, another tough opponent there. Very, very well improved fighter in that division as well. And at 7,200, she did score 32 points. Again, when she loses, she at least covers her half of her average fantasy points per fight. But when she wins and when she's priced up there at 9,300, beating Lipsky, fighter that beat JJ Aldrich. I know we can't do MMA math here, but at 9,300, 111 points, that's awesome. If she can score anywhere around that ballpark, even remotely close to the 100 points at 8,200, you're going to see her at the top of your lineups. If I had to choose, I would rather go up the $200 there for Montana De La Rosa. Why? Because I do feel she's going to win the fight overall. Could be a decision win. Maybe if she looks for top control. I know she likes the clinch against the cage a lot, but if she can get at least a takedown or two and rack up control time, which is something that we didn't see, that we didn't focus on here, which is, I mean, look at this control time. That's what we love for DraftKings. We love control time. Obviously, control time plus strikes would put her way up above her projected or her average fantasy points per fight. So whether you think Montana De La Rosa is going to win, what is your narrative? Personally, I think she wins. I think she scores somewhere around 80 to 100 points. At 8,200, you're looking for her to be at the top of your lineup. If you trust JJ Aldrich, if you need that extra salary, I'm okay with it. I do believe JJ Aldrich is a slight favorite in this fight. So again, her control time can be crucial as well. So if she finds herself on top of De La Rosa and controlling her for 3 to 5 minutes total fight, and giving us at least 50 to 70 strikes, overall she might be looking at the same thing, 80 to 100 points, unless she finishes the fight late. I don't see that happening. Personal opinion, I will go with Montana De La Rosa at 8,200, spending those extra $200 there, and hopefully she can make our lineups work to get to the top of those lineups. Without further ado, let's get right into fight number 2. All right, guys, so fight number 2 that we're going to target, and it's one of my possibly favorite fights in this card that I'm looking forward to. It's going to be Joe Pyfer and Razak Alhassan. In my opinion, again, this is not advice for this, but in my opinion, Joe Pyfer is still underpriced, even though he's 9,300 points or 9,300 salary. Let's take a look at Joe Pyfer, his last 2 fights, and take a look at the salary. 9,700 and 8,700. I do believe they think Razak Alhassan has a better chance to knock him out, or to at least put up a better fight than what he's had. At 9,700 in his first fight against Amedovski, he did just accumulate 106 points. The reason for that is he needed to knock him out before the 60-second bonus. That way he can at least get you up in the 120s, 125s fantasy points. Against Mearshart, they really thought Mearshart was going to come in and use his grappling, but again, first round knockout. He at 8,796 points. That's awesome. That's what you like to see. Let's go look at Razak Alhassan, and he's way down here at 6,900 salary, which makes a lot work, and especially if he comes out and can get a knockout win, just like he did in his last fight against Ribeiro. And Ribeiro is a solid striker. He's tough as nails, but he ended up getting the knockout. What is something that jumps at me right away is the volume. So the highest volume that we've seen from Razak Alhassan was against Buckley, and the 3 rounds that he came out to fight, he did look tired. They both looked tired, but at 46 significant strikes for 3 rounds, 15 minutes of fighting, it's just not enough if you want to accumulate a high fantasy point outcome, or high total fantasy point outcome. But what I will say about Razak Alhassan, he's powerful. You look at his body, he looks bodied up. He looks like he can come out and just in the first round knock you out. But against body bags Pyfer, Again, I just think Body Bags Pfeiffer should be 9,700 every time he fights, until he fights a top echelon, top 15 fighter in that weight class. Again, let's take a look at his wins. Let's look at the positives of Razak Al Hassan. So he did beat Dichirico in round 1. Again, this is what you're banking on if you're going to choose Razak Al Hassan in your lineups. And again, at 6,900, it's not a tough click. If he comes out and just starts swinging on Body Bags Pfeiffer, puts him out, and there's no longer a B. Joe Pfeiffer chant going around, then he's definitely going to be in the top lineups. But if he gets knocked out and or controlled by Joe Pfeiffer, you can pretty much put this salary savings, if you will, away, because Body Bags Pfeiffer might come out and just, look to drag this to the 3rd round. Hopefully he gets some control time, tire Razak Al Hassan out, get his muscles pumping, get that oxygen pumping into those muscles. But personally, I'm just going to go with Body Bags Pfeiffer here at 9,300. I do think he's underpriced. He should be 9,700 every single fight until he gets somebody in the top 15, in my opinion. Again, not advised, just take it as you will. His fantasy points per fight is 100.9, and that's an average of the 96 and 106. Again, if you believe Razak Al Hassan comes out and just lands a bomb to Mr. Pfeiffer here, then you're looking at Razak Al Hassan in those top lineups. And that is very, very well a good possibility that can happen. But I just think Joe Pfeiffer's ready for those top 15 guys, those top echelon guys. And if you keep feeding him these unranked fighters, he's just going to keep knocking them out and or controlling them. He is big for the class, in my opinion. So that power is going to be there no matter what. And Razak Al Hassan has shown that he can be knocked out or stopped. So again, give me Joe Pfeiffer at 9,300. This is a good and best fight to target here, whether you're on the Pfeiffer side or whether you're on the Razak Al Hassan side. Awesome fight to target. You're going to want one of these two guys in your lineups, so you can reach those top lineups and get some cash here. So let's get ready to move on to fight number 3. All right, guys, and the last fight we're going to talk about in this video, it's going to be the main event. Grant Dawson and Bobby King Green. And the main reason why we want to talk about this is because of ownership. And for all my daily fantasy players, ownership is king. Whether you want to be on the ownership side or you want to fade the ownership side, hoping that something out of the ordinary or crazy happens, an injury, knockout, or again, possibly just win outright the fight. So again, we're going to look at Grant Dawson first, since he is a higher priced fighter at 9,400, averaging fight fantasy points per fight at 95.6. Very, very good streak here. And since moving to lightweight, he's made some noise. Beating Gordon, beating Madsen. That fight was awesome. I was really looking forward to that fight, and I was backing him 1,000%. And just like Joe Body Bags Pfeiffer, I'm going to keep riding the hot hand. Grant Dawson is fantasy king, right? Because look at this control time here. Over a round of control time in every single one of his fights. And that's DraftKings gold for us. And then you put that on top of takedowns. I mean, look at the way he's been scoring and his salary. He should have been 9,400 in each of his last fights. So against Santos, he's priced at 8,600. He's priced against Ricky Glenn at 9,300. Doesn't score well because of the draw. If not, we would be seeing at least an 80-some point victory there. I believe it's 30 points for victory for the decision. Not going to talk about that. Judges are going to judge and refs are going to ref. 8,700 against Gordon. Again, 123 points. That's going to put you in those top lineups, and that's what we're focusing on in this video. Against Madsen, 9,103 points. Solid point. Solid total fantasy points there. And Madsen was somebody that we didn't know if he was going to be able to accumulate this control time. We didn't know if he was going to be able to take him down. So that right there was a good test for us, a good, I guess, ceiling to look at to where his wrestling is with the rest of the division. And lastly, at 8,000, very disrespectful against Ismagulov. He just controlled him most of the 75% of that fight, more than 80%, 90% of that fight. Again, control time, takedowns, significant strikes not as high, but when you have at least 2+ takedowns, 8+ minutes of control time, fantasy gold for us. At 9,400, I do see he's a little bit expensive, but again, that is just what you like to see out of a fighter. So let's go to the other side of this here. Let's go to Bobby King Green. I feel like it's a disrespectful salary, 6,800. I do think that they're projecting at least a fight like he had against Makhachev, where he was around the same salary there, 6,700 against Makhachev and 6,800 against Dawson. Now, Dawson is no punk, but Bobby King Green at 6,800 is just straight out disrespectful. I would have felt more comfortable for them putting him at 7,500. Reason for that is because, again, against Ferguson, he was very high priced there. Against Gordon with that no decision, no decision, no outcome, whatever. At 9,400, he just scored 9. Against Makhachev, he just scored 4 points. Think about that. And if personally, I feel like it's going to be a similar, maybe not in the first round and in the first round, but I do feel Grant Dawson does enough to stop him in the later rounds. Against Haqparast, I do believe he was the underdog against him. Don't quote me on that, but he did end up scoring very, very well. But again, that's a stand-up fight, and the narrative here is Grant Dawson is going to be looking to take him down, rack up the control time, and score those fantasy points, those fantasy gold that we like to talk about. But if you're on the Bobby King Green side and you believe he beats Dawson, he ends up catching him like he did Dober, or Dober caught him, you believe that he ends up possibly submitting Dawson while he's getting controlled. I mean, he submitted Ferguson, so there's that narrative there, right? But again, at 6,800, it's the same thing as Razak Al-Hassan. You're going to want either one of these two guys in your lineup. Would I stack them? That's a good question. That is a very, very good question, but I don't think I would. I don't think I will, just because if the outcome is the same as Makhachev, where he only scored 4 points, it's going to be very, very hard to stomach that. And even if what's his face, if Dawson ends up scoring about 100 to 115 and then plus 4 points, combined points, you're looking at about 120. So 60 each fighter. I like stacking, but not in this situation. I like stacking when it's going to be a stand-up fight. But we'll get to that whenever we get to that. But again, this is the third fight we talked about, Dawson and Green. Who are you guys going to be on this fight here? Personally, I'm on the Dawson side. And to recap the 3 fights that we're targeting, we're looking at Dawson, Pfeiffer, and Montana De La Rosa. So that's 3 fights, 3 fighters in your lineups that will leave you with 7,800 remaining. So now you're forced to choose anybody under. That way you can make lineups work. In my opinion, this is going to be the best way to start. Whoa. I didn't even figure out that mistake there. Pfeiffer. There we go. So 7,700, which is awesome remaining salary players for your next 3 picks. Again, just going back to recap the first fight, Montana De La Rosa, when she wins, she's going to pay off that 8,200 salary easily. If Pfeiffer wins, he's at least going to get you those 100 points. At 9,300, that's what you need. And Grant Dawson, same thing here, same story. If he wins, it's going to be control time. There's going to be takedowns. Striking output might not be as high, but you're pretty much banking on 100+ points there. And Montana De La Rosa, if she can win, you're looking at another 80 to 100 points there. So all you need to do is pick some solid underdogs, and there's a lot of underdogs on this card that have a chance or not priced where they need to be, in my opinion. But again, guys, those are the 3 fights that we're targeting for DraftKings Daily Fantasy. If you guys have any other opinions, if you guys have any other comments, leave them down below. If you want to talk about it a little bit more on the personal side or daily side, remember to follow me on my Instagram at CeeLo Studios Presents. Again, maybe you guys are on the complete opposite of my 3 picks for these fights. So you guys want to talk about it? You guys want a little bit more reasoning? Always active on Instagram at CeeLo Studios Presents. So for now, guys, this is going to be the 3 fights that we targeted for DraftKings. There's going to be awesome fights all around. We did have some cancellations, unfortunately, but that's just the fight game. We always get cancellations. Let me get myself back on the screen. So again, this your boy CeeLo, UFC Vegas 80. It's going to be a banger. It's going to be good fights. We're back. UFC Vegas 80 is bringing the heat with low-level names, if you will, but they're always entertaining. They always want to show out. Great opportunity to put their name out there to the masses. So again, guys, that were the 3 fights that we wanted to target. Follow Instagram at CeeLo Studios Presents, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.